Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Games I Bought Recently. And today's going to be a really special episode because not only am I going to be showing you some games I bought, but I've added a new system to my collection. And I'm actually going to do some things differently for this episode because for this particular system that I got, I think you really need to see it in action to see what's so great about it. Because if I talked about it and just showed you the games and kind of tried to explain how they work, I don't think you'd really have a true appreciation of the system. And the system I'm going to be talking about today is the Vectrex. First thing you're going to notice about the Vectrex is that it's the system itself is this little monitor here, and it's not that little because the unit itself is quite bulky. But this is the game system. When you bought this thing back in 1982, you got the monitor and the cable that was attached to the system to plug it in as an AC supply. There's no cables going to a TV. This is the system right here. So the controller is actually built into the system down here. But since it'll be easier for me just to show you the second one that I have here, this is the Vectrex controller. It's like sort of like a mini arcade stick where it has a self-centering joystick, so it goes right back to the center, and it has 4 buttons. So it's kind of meant to sit on your lap and play it sitting on your lap instead of holding it like a regular controller. You could play like this and go like that, but certain games required that you use all 4 fingers. So that's the controller there. You can play 2 people at once on certain games, and that's a really cool feature. Now, so what is the Vectrex that makes it so different from other game systems? It actually outputs vector graphics, and that's basically like the graphics that old arcade games use, sort of like, think back to the original, Asteroids or something like that, where the graphics aren't all pixelated. It's like having your own little virtual vector graphics arcade machine in your home. So the history behind it is that it came out in 1982, which is 1 year before the video game crash of '83. So obviously the Vectrex was discontinued by '84. Only 28 games were ever released for it, 6 of which you needed preferables to add on. You needed the 3D goggle or 3D imager and a light pen, both of which are extremely rare. And 22 games didn't require. So really, there's 22 available games out there that are nice and easy to get into and play. Some of them are quite rare. But the graphics on the Vectrex, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, I'm going to show you guys some gameplay. The graphics look amazing for its time. In my opinion, hands down, looks so much better than, Atari 2600. And I actually prefer this to NES graphics. Now, some of you out there, when you see this thing, you're probably going to be like, what the heck, what do you see in this thing? To me, it looks like really, really crappy graphics. But one thing that really enhances it is, without these that I'm about to show you, the graphics are in black and white. Everything is rendered in black and white. But every game came with a screen overlay, which gave the illusion of adding color. So as you can see, as it's doing to my face here, it gave the illusion of adding color. So I got all these different screen overlays here, and each one is specific for a certain game. Some of them are just a solid blue color, and some of them kind of add in some graphics on there like that. So all you would do is you just pop it right on the screen. They have little hooks that you can get them on there, and you would do this for every game, and voila, the Vectrex has color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you guys the games that I got, and then I'm going to get into some gameplay footage. First, we got Web Wars here, and first let me just show you guys, the boxes themselves are quite big because they have to store the overlays, so that's it compared to a Super Nintendo box. So they are pretty large in terms of their size. Okay, so Web Wars, it's like a clone of Tempest, but it's very fun. Scramble, classic arcade game right there, where you're dropping the bombs and everything. Spike, this is actually a platformer that I believe was the first game to use voice synthesis. It says on the box, voice synthesis built in, no add-on component needed, so that's pretty funny. Solar Quest, it's sort of similar to like Asteroids. Armor Attack, my personal favorite Vectrex game at the moment, and yes, I did cheat, I played some of these games ahead of time. Hyper Chase, it's like, you'll see what that one is, it's like the Flash games that a lot of you play today. And I also have some carts here. I got Star Trek, Berserk, another classic, and Blitz. So I'm going to get into some gameplay here, guys, and I'm going to put the screen overlays on so we get some color. let me show you what the Vectrex can do. Okay, so here's the screen. I just wanted to show it to you before I turn the light off so you get an idea of the perspective of what you're looking at here. And you guys are going to notice that there's going to be a buzzing sound from the system. It's notorious for having buzzing. I'm sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about it. But it has something to do with the contacts in the system where they were wired too closely to one another or something. So as the graphics change during gameplay, you're going to hear different kinds of buzzing. So I'm going to turn the light off here. That's the boot up screen. And this is Mindstorm. It's actually a game that's built into the Vectrex, which is really awesome. It plays very similar to Asteroids. And this is the gameplay without the screen overlay. And I'll tell you guys, it looks so much better in person than what it looks like. I've seen YouTube videos, and man, I was really surprised by the quality. Let me just turn down the volume a little bit. I was really surprised by the quality of the graphics compared to what I've seen on YouTube. So, this is Mindstorm. It's advised that you stay still while you shoot at the enemies, or else you're going to die just like that. And let me put the screen overlay on. Give you a... Now, for this particular game, it just changes it to a blue tint. And it looks, believe me, it doesn't look that good on YouTube. I've seen before. The lines are very crisp. And on YouTube it looks a little bit blurry, but let me tell you, it looks amazing when you're playing it. So this is Mindstorm, the game that's built into the Vectrex. Alright, next up is Hyperchase. Now this is the one that I told you guys would look like the Flash games that you play on the computer today. Let me show you, this one, really cool. So it's basically a game where you're dodging cars. And let me tell you, it really showcases what the Vectrex can do, because as you can see here, the camera shifts. Let me show you guys the game without the overlay. Oh, we just entered a tunnel. Let me take this off. So that's the game without the overlay. It's up to you to decide which way looks better. I like playing with the overlay. This is Web Wars. This is the game that I compared to Tempest. And this screen overlay gives the appearance that the center of the screen is green and the outside is blue. So it starts off pretty slow. You actually play as this like bird thing. And you shoot the incoming enemies, and it's your job, and this is where it gets different from Tempest, to capture incoming friendly, I guess you can call them friendly animals. And once you capture them, a portal will appear. So here, oh, I got killed. It plays just like Tempest, where you know it's got the screen with the enemies coming up from the bottom to the top. Alright, so it's time for my personal current favorite Vectrex game, and that's Armor Attack. So you play as this little Jeep guy, and you go around, and the main objective is just to shoot the tanks, and more keep on appearing. So you get helicopters in there, shoot down the helicopter, you get points. And the more and more that you go on, the more tanks appear. And it gets really, really crazy. You can actually play this game in two-player co-op at the same time. So here's the game without the color overlay on, and I think for the rest of the videos I'm going to use no overlay because they look more clear on YouTube for the quality that they give. But trust me, it looks so much better when you have an overlay on when you play it in real life and not watching a video. And the graphics overall on all the games look much better than the video quality that YouTube provides. Alright, so here's Spike. The game I was telling you guys about is a platformer that uses the voice synthesis. Now you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. Here it comes. It said, Eek, help Spike, oh no Molly. So here's the game. It's basically sort of like it's on an isometric view platformer. So you just jump around and you can control the ladder by pressing a button. Let's see, there you go. So this is basically the gameplay here. This is the first level. You can move the ladder around the platforms, and you basically just got to make it to the end of the level, which is this cage on the top here. Make it to the end and you get another little cutscene. And the bad guy comes and takes her away. And it does this every time you beat a level. It gets quite annoying. So now we got enemies. Move the ladder. Climb up. So it gets harder and harder as you go along because of all the enemies that it starts throwing at you. Oops. Well, now you get to see what I say when I die. Darn it. But basically the whole game is just collecting keys that are throughout the level, and once you get the key, you can get to the end of the level. And that is Spike. Alright, so the next one is Scramble. I actually haven't played this one yet, so it's going to be a first time for me here. Alright, so here's the shoot and the drop bomb, and that's basically it. So a lot of you probably, this one looks familiar to a lot of you. You're going through the level and you're dropping bombs, and you can shoot forward. Now this one I do want to show with the overlay on, just to give you an idea. Alright, so here's an example of the game with the overlay on when I have the lights on, so you can kind of get a little bit of a clearer view of what it looks like. So as you see, as I move my ship up and down, the color switches from green to yellow to red. So it's a really cool illusion of adding color to a system that's otherwise in black and white. Alright, and the last one I'm going to show you guys is Berserk. So for those of you that don't know about Berserk, it's one of the very early maze games that's quite brutal in its difficulty at times. And basically every level is like this. It's a maze, you shoot the little alien guys, and if you take too long, the smiley face comes in. I guess you can call, I forget his exact name, but I guess you can call him one of the earlier bosses. Comes in through every level. Automatic kill, he can go through the walls in the level and everything like that. So you gotta be fast. Now of course Berserk doesn't really show off the graphical capabilities really of the Vectrex that well, but it's still a classic no matter what.